Welcome to Globewise Entertainment, your go-to destination for uncovering the untold stories of Hollywood's past and present. From the glitz and glamour of tinsel, welcome to Globewise Entertainment, your go-to destination for uncovering the untold stories of Hollywood's past and present. From the glitz and glamour of Tinseltown to the scandals hidden behind the silver screen, we bring you the most intriguing tales from the entertainment world. Today, we're diving deep into the golden age of Hollywood, a time of legendary stars, unforgettable films, and shocking secrets. While these actors were adored by millions, their off-screen lives were filled with controversy, scandals, and even sinister reputations. If you haven't subscribed to Globewise Entertainment yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos. More Hollywood secrets and untold stories are coming your way. Get ready, because some of these stories will change the way you see these Hollywood icons forever. Let's begin. 1. Errol Flynn. The sinister charms of Errol Flynn. The lights dimmed, and the silver screen flickered to life. There he was, Errol Flynn, Hollywood's golden rogue, flashing his infamous smirk. To the world, he was a dashing Robin Hood, the swashbuckling hero. But behind the dazzling smile lay a darkness few dared to speak of. In the late 1930s, Flynn was the king of Warner Brothers, a man who lived as recklessly as the characters he played. His nights were filled with lavish parties, rivers of champagne, and young starlets eager for a taste of Hollywood magic. But whispers in the corridors of Tinseltown told a different story. In 1942, Flynn's reputation took a disastrous turn. Two teenage girls, Betty Hansen and Peggy Satterley, accused him of sexual assault. The scandal rocked Hollywood. Flynn, ever the charmer, dismissed the allegations, playing the role of the innocent man caught in a web of lies. His high-priced legal team turned the trial into a spectacle, painting the girls as opportunists. The phrase, unlike Flynn, became both a symbol of his seduction and his escape from justice. But those who knew Flynn intimately saw the cracks beneath the polished surface. His closest friends spoke of his self-destructive habits, his love for alcohol, his obsession with danger, his cruel streak hidden beneath charm. He spent his final years wandering, a shadow of the icon he once was, clinging to fading fame, his body wrecked by years of indulgence. At just 50 years old, Flynn died in 1959, his heart failing from decades of excess. The world mourned the loss of a legend, but Hollywood insiders knew the truth. Errol Flynn had lived and died as recklessly as the characters he portrayed, leaving behind a legacy tainted by scandal and sin. 2. Fatty Arbuckle. The fall of Fatty Arbuckle. The crowd roared with laughter as Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle tumbled across the silent screen, his oversized frame defying gravity with a grace that seemed impossible. In the 1910s, he was one of Hollywood's first true superstars, beloved, wealthy, and seemingly untouchable. But behind the laughter lurked the darkness of an industry built on excess, power, and silence. On Labor Day weekend, 1921, Arbuckle and his friends checked into San Francisco's luxurious St. Francis Hotel for a weekend of drinking and debauchery, an escape from the pressures of Hollywood. Among the guests was Virginia Rappe, a young aspiring actress with a reputation for wild partying. Hours into festivities, Virginia was found screaming in pain in Arbuckle's room. She was rushed to the hospital, but days later, she was dead. Whispers turned to headlines, and soon the world was gripped by the biggest scandal Hollywood had ever seen. Accusations flew. Arbuckle, they said, had violently assaulted Virginia, causing her fatal injuries. The newspapers painted him as a monster, a predator who had taken advantage of his fame and size. The trials began, and with them came a spectacle of corruption, media frenzy, and twisted justice. Hollywood distanced itself, fearing for its own reputation. Though Arbuckle was acquitted after 3 trials, the damage was irreversible. The studio bosses blacklisted him. His films were banned. Once a man who made the world laugh, he was now Hollywood's first great cautionary tale. By the time he was offered a comeback in 1933, it was too late. Just hours after signing a new contract, Fatty Arbuckle died of a heart attack in his sleep. Some say from a broken heart. His name became a ghost story in Hollywood, a warning of how quickly fame could turn to infamy in the city of dreams and nightmares. 3. Charlie Chaplin. The dark secrets behind the smile. The world knew Charlie Chaplin as a lovable tramp, a comic genius who turned silent film into an art form. But behind the charming mustache and bowler hat lurked a man whose personal life was as scandalous as it was controversial. In the golden glow of Hollywood's most glamorous era, Chaplin was a king. But kings of secrets, and his were buried under allegations, obsessions, and an insatiable appetite for young women. It was 1943 when the cracks in Chaplin's carefully curated image began to show. A young actress, Joan Barry, accused him of seducing and abandoning her. The scandal exploded when she claimed he was the father of her unborn child. Chaplin denied it, but a blood test, an early form of DNA testing, proved otherwise. Yet, in a shocking turn, the court ignored the science, ruling Chaplin the legal father and forcing him to pay child support. The case became a media circus, tarnishing his reputation. But this wasn't the first time Chaplin had pursued much younger women. His first wife, Mildred Harris, was just 16 when he married her. Chaplin was 29. His second wife, Lita Gray, was even younger, only 15, when he impregnated her and quickly arranged a secret wedding to avoid legal trouble. Their divorce was one of the most scandalous in Hollywood history, filled with accusations of cruelty, infidelity, and emotional torment. As if that weren't enough, Chaplin's political leanings also put him under fire. Accused of communist sympathies during the Red Scare, he became a target of the U.S. government. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover saw him as a threat and orchestrated a campaign against him. In 1952, while on a trip to London, Chaplin was effectively banned from returning to the United States. The tramp, once Hollywood's most cherished figure, had become an outcast. He lived the rest of his days in Switzerland, away from the country that made him a star. When he finally returned to the U.S. in 1972 to accept an honorary Oscar, the audience gave him a standing ovation. But the ghost of his past still lingered, hidden behind his tired smile. Even legends aren't immune to the weight of their secrets. And sometimes, the laughter they bring hides a darker truth. For Joan Crawford, the haunted legacy of Joan Crawford. The grand halls of Hollywood's golden age shimmered with glamour, but behind the closed doors of a Beverly Hills mansion, darkness lurked. Joan Crawford, a silver screen legend, captivated audiences with her piercing eyes and commanding presence. To the world, she was the epitome of elegance. To those who knew her best, she was something else entirely. Her children learned quickly what the cameras saw was an illusion. The smiling actress who graced magazine covers was not the same woman who ruled their home with an iron fist. Christina Crawford, her eldest adopted daughter, bore the brunt of her cruelty. The world would not know the horror she endured until decades later, when Mommy Dearest pulled back the velvet curtain. The whispers had always been there, Joan's obsessive need for control, her volatile temper, and the chilling way she discarded people once they ceased to be useful. Hollywood insiders murmured about her infamous feuds, none more bitter than the one with Bette Davis, filled with accusations of sabotage and backstabbing. Then there were the men. Lovers came and went, but few left unscathed. Some claimed she used them, manipulated them, discarded them. Others feared her. One ex-lover, a powerful producer, once told a friend in hushed tones, "Joan doesn't love, she consumes." As her career waned, so did her grip on reality. Alcohol replaced adoration. Shadows filled her once grand estate, and her children became prisoners of her paranoia. The wire hangers, the violent outbursts, the nights of terror. In her final years, Joan became a ghost in her own home, retreating into solitude. When she passed in 1977, Hollywood mourned, but those who knew the truth remained silent. It wasn't until Christina's book sent shockwaves to the industry that the world finally saw Joan Crawford, not as a glamorous star, but as the woman behind the mask. Even now, her name lingers in whispers, her legend both admired and feared, because in Hollywood, the brightest lights cast the darkest shadows. 5. Bing Crosby. The two faces of Bing Crosby. In the eyes of the public, Bing Crosby was the golden voice of America, charming, smooth, and effortlessly cool. His crooning ballads like White Christmas filled homes with warmth, and his on-screen persona exuded kindness. But behind closed doors, a different Bing Crosby emerged, one far removed from the beloved entertainer the world knew. It was a cold evening in 1953 when Lindsay Crosby, one of Bing's 4 sons, sat in the dimly lit study of their Beverly Hills mansion, nursing a fresh bruise on his arm. His father had been in one of his moods again. The drinking always made it worse. A forgotten school assignment, a misplaced record, or even the wrong tone of voice. Any excuse was enough to unleash his wrath. You'll never amount to anything if you don't learn discipline. Bing's voice echoed through the halls, his usual warm croon now a sharp, biting growl. The same man who sang lullabies to America had a strict, almost military approach to parenting. His punishments were not just verbal, but physical. A belt, a cane, even his own fists. His sons bore the scars, both seen and unseen. In Hollywood circles, whispers of Crosby's iron-fisted rule at home weren't unheard of, but no one dared to challenge the legendary star. His friends, many of whom were as powerful as he was, turned a blind eye, even when Dixie Lee, his first wife, drowned her sorrows in alcohol. Few questioned why she drank so much. Behind the glamorous Hollywood facade, she was trapped in a marriage filled with control and cruelty. Years later, after Bing's death, the truth spilled out. In 1983, Lindsay Crosby, broken by years of trauma, took his own life. His brothers, too, struggled with demons their father had unknowingly passed down. Gary Crosby, the eldest, wrote a tell-all book, Going My Own Way, revealing the torment they endured. The world was shocked. Could it be true? Could America's favorite crooner have been a tyrant at home? Some fans refused to believe it. Others saw the cracks all along. But one thing was certain. Bing Crosby's golden voice had cast a long, dark shadow over those who knew him best. 6. Spencer Tracy. Shattered illusions. In the golden haze of 1950s Hollywood, Spencer Tracy was celebrated as a paragon of talent and quiet dignity, a man whose every performance captivated millions. Yet behind a polished smile and measured calm lay a tempest few ever saw. Late one sultry summer evening, amid the clandestine glamour of a private Hollywood speakeasy, the facade began to crack. Whispers had long hinted at secrets too dark for the limelight. A forbidden liaison with a mysterious, elusive woman whose allure was matched only by her enigma. As the night deepened and the clink of glasses faded into murmurs, a heated dispute ignited in a shadowed corner of the club. What started as a subtle argument soon escalated into a raw, explosive confrontation. In that charged moment, Tracy's long-suppressed inner demons roared to life. His temper, usually so carefully concealed, broke free in a burst of anger fueled by years of hidden regrets and relentless pressure. For those brief, haunting minutes, the revered star was transformed. A man unmasked, caught in the grip of scandal that threatened to upend his legacy. The incident, witnessed only by a select few loyal confidants, was swiftly buried by the mighty forces of the studio system. The details faded into myth, leaving behind only lingering shadows and hushed whispers. Even today, the echoes of that fateful night remind us that beneath Hollywood's glittering surface, even its brightest stars can harbor dark, scandalous secrets. 7. Clark Gable. Clark Gable's hidden sin. The world knew Clark Gable as the dashing, charismatic leading man, the king of Hollywood. With his devil-may-care grin and effortless charm, he captivated audiences in Gone with the Wind and countless other classics. But behind the glittering facade of Hollywood's golden age, Gable carried a dark and unsettling secret, one that will remain buried for decades. In 1935, while filming Call to Wild, Gable met 22-year-old actress Loretta Young. She was young, devoutly Catholic, and tried to maintain her wholesome image in a town where reputations could be ruined overnight. Gable, on the other hand, was married and known for his aggressive pursuit of women. What happened between them remains a mystery cloaked in whispers, but one thing was undeniable. Loretta Young became pregnant. In an era where a pregnancy out of wedlock could end a woman's career, she disappeared from Hollywood for months, claiming she was sick. When she returned, she adopted a baby girl, Judy Lewis. The press never questioned it, and Gable never publicly acknowledged the child. For years, the truth remained locked away, hidden beneath Hollywood's carefully constructed illusions. But behind closed doors, Judy Lewis grew up questioning why she bore an uncanny resemblance to Gable. When she was in her early 30s, Young finally revealed the truth to her daughter. Gable had been her father, but he had never attempted to be part of her life. Later in life, Young privately admitted that her encounter with Gable had not been consensual, but she never spoke of it publicly, fearing the backlash of an industry that protected its male stars at all costs. Gable, who maintained his heroic image until his death, took the full truth to his grave. Hollywood remembers him as a king, but for one woman, he was a haunting reminder of an unforgivable betrayal. 8. Judy Garland. The Price of Stardom. The Dark Secrets of Judy Garland. The dazzling lights of Hollywood never dimmed for Judy Garland, not even when she wanted them to the world. She was Dorothy, the girl who skipped down the yellow brick road with a voice that could melt hearts. But behind the curtains of MGM's golden empire, Judy's life was anything but a fairy tale. From the moment she stepped into Hollywood's ruthless machine, studio executives dictated every aspect of her life. At just 13, she was told she wasn't pretty enough, thin enough, or graceful enough to be a star. To fix her, MGM put her on a strict diet of black coffee, cigarettes, and diet pills. If that wasn't enough, they introduced her to amphetamines to keep her energetic during grueling 18-hour shoots, and then barbiturates so she could sleep when her body begged for rest. By the time she starred in The Wizard of Oz, Judy was already trapped in a vicious cycle of addiction. The studio controlled everything. When she gained weight, they shamed her, force-fed her diet pills, and even limited her to a liquid-only diet. When she grew tired, they handed her more pills. When she cried, they reminded her that she was nothing without them. Her personal life fared no better. Desperate for love and stability, Judy rushed into relationships that often ended in heartbreak and betrayal. Studio executives even arranged a secret abortion when she became pregnant, fearing it would ruin her box office appeal. As the years passed, the bubbly young starlet transformed into a woman haunted by Hollywood's cruelty. She battled addiction, depression, and financial ruin. Her marriages crumbled under the weight of her demons. The little girl who had once dreamt of a rainbow found herself drowning in darkness. In 1969, at just 47 years old, Judy was found dead in her London apartment, a tragic victim of the same system that had created her. Officially, it was an accidental overdose, but those who knew her best believed Hollywood had been killing her for years. She was a star who never truly escaped the Emerald City, a prisoner of fame, controlled until the very end. 9. Marlon Brando. The two faces of Marlon Brando. The cameras loved him. His smoldering gaze, his raw intensity, his undeniable talent. Marlon Brando was the embodiment of Hollywood's golden age rebellion. Off-screen, though, Brando was a storm waiting to break, his charm masking a darkness few dared confront. It was a sweltering night in 1955 when a young aspiring actress, Evelyn Carter, found herself in the presence of the legendary star. Brando had noticed her at an industry party, his piercing eyes locking onto her like a predator sizing up its prey. She was flattered, of course. Who wouldn't be? But there was something unsettling in the way he spoke to her, in the way he cornered her with his towering frame. "You're different," he murmured, his voice like velvet and warning all at once. The party dwindled. Soon, she was in his mansion, the one where women whisper about things they could never quite bring themselves to say. The music played softly, and he poured her a drink. A strong one. Too strong. Evelyn never spoke of what happened that night. The next morning, she left his house in a daze, her dress wrinkled, her heart pounding. She knew better than to go to the press. Brando was untouchable. Stories of his rage, his cruelty toward lovers, and his volcanic temper were nothing new. But no one dared to expose the king of method acting. Over the years, more stories followed. His affairs were countless. His love affairs laced with manipulation. Maria Schneider, his last Tango in Paris co-star, would later reveal how he had violated her trust in a harrowing scene that wasn't in the script. Women came and went, many leaving with more than just memories, some left broken. Yet the world forgave him. Hollywood celebrated him. And Brando? He carried on, a man haunted by his own demons, never quite able to escape them. The cameras only saw what he allowed them to see. But behind the scenes, the darkness of Marlon Brando's world was a script too twisted for even the most shocking of Hollywood films. 10. Bette Davis. The two faces of Bette Davis. Hollywood in the 1930s and 40s shimmered with glamour, but behind the dazzling lights and red carpets, dark secrets brewed. Bette Davis, the fiery-eyed queen of the silver screen, was a legend, a woman of unparalleled talent and ruthless ambition. But beneath her powerful performances and sharp wit lay a storm of scandals, feuds, and whispers of sinister dealings. One of the most infamous tales of Davis's career was her legendary rivalry with Joan Crawford. The two despised each other with venom that went beyond mere professional jealousy. It was whispered that Davis once had a stagehand place a weight in her costume during a fight scene with Crawford in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, causing real injuries. But Crawford wasn't her only target. On set, Davis was known to terrorize directors and co-stars alike. She once had her eyes set on the role of Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, and when she was passed over, she lashed out at the studio, claiming she had been robbed. Behind closed doors, Davis's personal life was just as stormy. She went through 4 marriages, each ending in disaster. Her daughter, Beatty Hyman, later wrote a memoir, My Mother's Keeper, in which she described Bette as a manipulative, abusive figure, someone who could be as cruel in private as she was captivating on screen. Some even whispered that her legendary sharp tongue and fearless attitude weren't just a result of natural confidence, but of a deep-seated darkness, one that left behind a trail of broken relationships and bitter rivalries. Bette Davis may have had Bette Davis eyes, but those who knew her best swore they had seen something else behind them, a glimpse of the real woman beneath the legend. 11. Peter Lorre. The sinister secrets of Peter Lorre. The dim glow of the street lamp cast long shadows across the cobbled alleyway. Hollywood's golden age was a spectacle of glitz and glamour, but beneath the surface, the darkness lurked, whispers of scandal, addiction, and unseen horrors. Few embodied that duality more than Peter Lorre. His bulging eyes and sinister smirk made him the perfect villain on screen. Audiences loved his eerie presence in M and Casablanca, but behind closed doors, Lorre's life was far from controlled performances he delivered. It was no secret that he wrestled with morphine addiction, a habit born from chronic pain, but nurtured by the pressures of Hollywood. He would disappear for days, lost in drug-fueled hazes, emerging with a vacant stare that even his closest friends struggled to recognize. His unpredictable behavior on set frustrated directors, yet his undeniable talent kept him in demand. One story that haunted those who knew him took place in the late 1940s. Lorre had been out all night, drinking heavily at the legendary Garden of Allah Hotel, a known haunt for Hollywood's most troubled stars. His friend, a struggling screenwriter, had joined him, desperate to pitch an idea. But by dawn, the screenwriter was dead. The official report cited an overdose, but those who had seen the two together earlier that night whispered something more sinister. Lorre, drunk and erratic, had allegedly made unsettling remarks. Talk of how easy it would be for someone to disappear in Hollywood, how the studios could make anything go away. The rumors spiraled, and though nothing was ever proven, the story clung to him like a shadow, just another ghost in his haunted past. As his career declined, so did his grip on reality. Friends spoke of his paranoia, how he feared the people around him, convinced someone was always watching. In truth, it wasn't the outside world he needed to fear. It was the demons within. When he passed away in 1964, alone and forgotten by the industry he had once ruled, his legacy remained forever tied to the darkness he both portrayed and lived. The eerie laugh, the unblinking stare. Peter Lorre had been more than just a villain on screen. Perhaps, in some ways, he had been one in real life too. 12. Kirk Douglas. The Silent Confession, a Kirk Douglas story. The golden lights of Hollywood masked 1,000 sins, but some shadows ran deeper than others. In the twilight of his years, Kirk Douglas sat in his grand Beverly Hills estate, staring at a half-written memoir on his desk. The weight of a secret he had carried for decades pressed down on him. He had been the king of the silver screen, a man who defined masculinity, power, and charm. But behind the dazzling smile and the piercing blue eyes lay a story he had never told, a story whispered in hushed voices behind closed doors. It was 1954. A young starlet, barely out of her teenage years, had been brought to one of his private suites after a studio party. He had seen her before, wide-eyed, talented, and desperate to make it in an industry where men like him held all the cards. That night, she left the room shattered. The next morning, she was found sobbing in a dressing room at the studio lot, her face pale, her voice hollow. But no one dared to ask questions. No one dared to accuse Kirk Douglas, the untouchable star. Years later, she became a Hollywood legend in her own right, though the pain never left her. And when she died, the rumors resurfaced. Whispers of what had happened in that hotel suite grew louder. Those who had long turned a blind eye now saw the cracks in the golden veneer of Douglas's legacy. Sitting in his chair, Kirk Douglas let out a slow breath. The memoir remained unfinished. Some confessions were never meant to see the light of day. The old Hollywood rules had protected him for years, but time had a way of exposing even the deepest secrets. Outside, the city lights flickered, and the ghosts of the past refused to be forgotten. 13. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum, the rebel with a dark side. The neon glow of Hollywood flickered against the night sky as Robert Mitchum staggered out of a smoky nightclub. His heavy-lidded eyes, often described as dreamy on the silver screen, were now clouded with something darker. He had a reputation, not just as the ultimate tough guy, but as a man who lived by his own rules, no matter the consequences. It was 1948, and Mitchum was at the height of his career, celebrated for his rugged charm and bad boy persona. But Hollywood's golden glow hid a world of vice and corruption, and Mitchum embraced it all: booze, broads, and backroom dealings. That year, his rebellious streak caught up with him in the worst way. One humid August night, the LAPD raided a bungalow in Laurel Canyon, a hot spot for Hollywood's elite looking to indulge in their vices away from prying eyes. Inside, officers found Mitchum lounging casually, a cigarette dangling from his lips, a smoldering joint in his hand. He barely reacted as they slapped the cuffs on him. Well, he quipped, "This is the bitter end of a sweet night." The scandal exploded. A major Hollywood star caught up in a drug bust? It could have ended his career. But Mitchum, ever the rogue, didn't beg for mercy. Instead, he leaned into his outlaw image. He spent 2 months in a California prison, serving time like a hardened criminal, rubbing shoulders with real gangsters and emerging with an even grittier edge. Some whispered that the whole thing was a setup, an industry ploy to send a message to unruly stars. Others believed Mitchum had simply gotten too cocky, thinking his status made him untouchable. Either way, his arrest only cemented his legend. When he walked out of jail, reporters swarmed, expecting shame or regret. Instead, Mitchum lit a cigarette, smirked, and said, "Hell, it's just like Palm Springs without the riffraff." Hollywood's bad boy was back. And nothing, not scandal, not prison, not even the city's darkest secrets, could keep him down. 14. Wallace Beery. In the dim glow of Hollywood's golden marquee lights, Wallace Beery was known as much for his rugged charm as for the dark whispers that trailed in his wake. Behind a hearty laugh and dazzling smile, a storm of scandal and secrecy brewed, a side of Beery that few ever saw. One humid Los Angeles night, an exclusive after-hours party in a private mansion, the atmosphere was charged with both glamour and danger. Rumor had it that during a heated exchange in a shadowed corner of the room, a confrontation erupted that would forever change the course of a rising comedian's life. Whispers told of a vicious brawl, fueled by too much liquor and unspoken grudges. The victim, a beloved comedian with a quick wit, was found battered and broken, a night that left Hollywood reeling and the air thick with accusations. Although no charges were ever pressed, and the official story painted the incident as an unfortunate accident amid the era's notorious excess, the silent glances and hushed conversations among the elite spoke of something far more sinister. For those who knew the darker underbelly of Tinseltown, it wasn't hard to imagine that behind Beery's public persona lurked a man capable of harboring dangerous secrets, secrets that blurred the line between fame and infamy. In the years that followed, Wallace Beery's career soared to even greater heights. Yet the scandal never quite left the shadows. Hollywood insiders would occasionally recall that fateful night with a mix of awe and trepidation, a reminder that even the brightest stars can cast the darkest shadows. And so, the legend of Wallace Beery grew, entwined forever with whispers of scandal and a mystery that will continue to haunt the silver screen for decades to come. 15. Raymond Burr. Raymond Burr, the man behind the mask. The world knew him as Perry Mason, the brilliant defense attorney who never lost a case. He was a tough, justice-seeking detective in Ironside. But behind Raymond Burr's stoic, commanding presence on screen lay a web of secrets, deception, and a carefully constructed identity that Hollywood never dared to question. Burr had always been a man of mystery, and as his fame grew, so did the fabrication surrounding his life. He spoke of a tragic past, of a young wife who had died in a plane crash, a son who succumbed to leukemia, and a second wife who passed away too soon. But none of these people existed. Hollywood was a place where reinvention was expected, but Burr took it to another level. His stories were elaborate, detailed, and unwavering. Yet behind the carefully crafted lies was a deeper truth. Raymond Burr was a man forced to conceal his true self. In an era when being openly gay could destroy a career, he constructed a fictional life to shield himself from the scrutiny of the studio system. Beyond his personal deceptions, there were whispers of a darker side. Colleagues found him controlling, possessive, and sometimes cruel in his relationships. His need for secrecy made him paranoid, leading to an obsessive grip on his public image. To his fans, Raymond Burr was a television icon, a symbol of law and order. But behind closed doors, he lived a life of loneliness, deception, and constant fear that the truth would one day catch up to him. Hollywood loves a good mystery, and Raymond Burr made sure he was one. 16. Frank Sinatra. The two faces of Frank Sinatra. The lights of Las Vegas glittered like diamonds in the night, but no star shined brighter than Frank Sinatra. To the public, he was the golden-voiced crooner, the charming Rat Pack leader, the man every woman wanted and every man wanted to be. But behind the smooth vocals and tailored suits lurked a man with a temper as sharp as a switchblade and friends in places most wouldn't dare tread. One night in 1951, after a performance at the Sands Hotel, Sinatra stormed into the casino bar, his face twisted with rage. A journalist in the Los Angeles Examiner had written a less-than-flattering piece about him, calling him washed up. Sinatra wasn't the kind of man to let an insult slide. With a quick flick of his wrist, he signaled a pair of shadowy figures near the back of the room. Two men in tailored suits, the kind who never had to ask twice to get what they wanted. "Teach him a lesson," Sinatra muttered under his breath. Hours later, the journalist was found in a dim alley behind the casino, bruised and bloodied. He survived, but the message was clear. No one crossed Sinatra and walked away untouched. Then there was the Marilyn Monroe affair. Rumors swirled that Sinatra had been more than just a friend to the blonde bombshell in her final days. Some whispered that he knew more about her tragic death than he ever let on. Monroe had been seen at Sinatra's Calneva Lodge just weeks before she was found lifeless in her Brentwood home. Did she say too much? Did she know secrets about the Rat Pack, the Mafia, or even the Kennedys that made her a liability? Sinatra never spoke publicly about Marilyn's death, but those close to him noticed a change, a weight of unspoken guilt that even his whiskey couldn't drown. For all his charm, talent, and fame, Frank Sinatra lived in two worlds, one of glamour and applause, the other of whispers and shadows. And in the dark corners of Hollywood's golden age, those who played with fire often found themselves burned. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's dark past, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed to Globewise Entertainment yet, hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos on classic Hollywood scandals, forgotten legends, and untold stories. See you in the next one.